This edition of Mac Voices is sponsored by BetterHelp, affordable online private counseling. Get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/MacVoices. Today's Mac Voices is supported by Smile, the makers of PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro. Visit smilesoftware.com/podcasts for more information. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is another one of our gift guide shows. We have produced a bunch so far, and hopefully we have a bunch more to go because we have so many great people to talk about and so many great products to talk about. This time, I was considering calling this the Rogues Gallery version of the gift guides because of our guests, but I don't know. I just hate to characterize them that way, although I think they fit the profile. So let's find out who's here, and then we'll get to it. Taking my screen, as I always do, Mr. Joe Kissell is here. Joe, happy holidays. Good to see you.
Hello. Happy holidays to you, too.
Yes, this is terrific. Next to him or below him, depending on how it all shows up in my screen, Mr. Wally Cherwinski. Wally, it's been way too long since you and I talked.
Hi, Chuck. Let me say, I really look forward to the annual gift guide sessions every year to talk with you and Joe and Mark today, but also to get a lot of great tips for stuff to look at and just to hang out with people you don't see often enough anymore. So, yeah, it's great to be back.
Yeah, especially in these times. Yeah, unfortunately. And last but absolutely not least, with yet another fascinating background, Mr. Mark Fuccio. Mark, it's good to see you.
Hi, Chuck. Thanks for the invitation. Joe and Wally, great to be with you. I think we'll have some great ideas. And for the listeners, my picks will range everything from free to thousands of dollars. So we should have quite a dynamic range here.
Okay.
I'm getting my credit card out, Mark. I'm ready.
I don't think I have enough credit for some of Mark's picks, but we'll find out. We'll find out. So, Joe, we'll give you the first pick of the first round of this gift guide.
Okay. Well, I'm going to sort of move from less optimistic to more optimistic. So, the times being what they are, one might have occasion now and then to wonder about one's temperature. And, we've got kids. We're used to having, various kinds of illnesses and ear infections and whatever. But we came to the conclusion a few months ago that we ought to have a thermometer that is, easier to use, more accurate, and has basically more buttons. So, we got this one here. This is the iProven, what's it called? iProven forehead thermometer for adults and kids. Now this is a digital thermometer, infrared. And what's interesting about this is you can either just, point it at your forehead and get a surface reading, or you can snap off the cap here and it has a little sensor here. It automatically says, "Oh, now I'm in. Stick it in your ear mode," and then it'll bounce the infrared light off your eardrum and get a more accurate reading. So if you have a child who really, really, really doesn't like having anything stuck in their ear, well, you can just use it this way on the forehead and get pretty close. And if you want a super accurate reading, you can take that thing off and stick it in the ear. Now, I'm happy to say that this device has not turned out to have shown any fevers in the family yet. But even once the pandemic passes, there will be times. So there exist out there fancy thermometers with, Bluetooth and apps and all that craziness. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make my life easier. I don't need to have like an app and a record on my iPhone of what temperatures were over the last however long. I just want to get a number in a hurry. So if you want to get a number in a hurry, you can get an infrared thermometer like this. It's fast, it's easy, it's kid safe, and it has 2 buttons. 2 buttons.
2 buttons.
The old thermometer only had 1 button. So this is clearly twice as good.
Where did you buy it?
Oh, I bought this. There's this little shop called Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
And they have, I think they mostly have books, isn't that it? And also all other objects known to mankind. So you can get this there, or I imagine other fine retailers.
It's a very timely pick. It's an unfortunate pick that you have that much use for it, but
yeah,
good pick. All right, Wally, first round pick.
Okay, thanks. I'll have you know that for this occasion, I've actually turned off my Amazon device, because every time we say Amazon or Alexa or whatever, it's going to go crazy. So I thought ahead. So these are tough times for all of us, I know. And one of the things that I have missed in the last few months is traveling. And something as simple as going to Illinois to Macstock was suddenly not possible. So I'm going to suggest that as a gift suggestion, that we take a virtual vacation. And there's a couple of simple ways to do that. In fact, I think the last time I got together with Joe was about 6 years ago, floating down the Rhine on a MacMania cruise. And I sort of miss those days. But for a virtual vacation, you can go to places you've always wanted to go to, but from the comfort of your own home. And here are a couple of great travel sites to help you do that. First one is Lonely Planet. And if you go to lonelyplanet.com, you'll find that they have been doing travel documentaries and travel television shows for about 20 years. And every year there are about 15 different episodes. And if you think of any place in the world, any continent, they've probably been there and they've done a show on it. The show is called Globe Trekker. You can go to that site and watch several episodes for free. But of course, with a premium membership, you'll get over 200 shows for $30 a year, or $20 for 6 months, or for $4, you can try it out for a month. And believe me, these are fantastic shows of fantastic places. Same site, you'll see stories, travel articles, things to buy, and you can even book tours with Lonely Planet if there are ever such things as tours again. So that's one. The other really good place is ricksteves.com. Rick Steves is an inveterate traveler. He specializes in Europe. And his site is just a treasure trove of info on pretty well any country or any city in Europe. Chances are Rick has been there and he's done a show on the main sites and attractions in each place. So you go to the site, you can get travel tips, guidebooks, maps, the usual stuff, travel accessories. There's even a travel forum to discuss various places and tips. Best of all, though, he has some holiday deals in the shop, and this is a really good one. You can get a DVD box set. Now, you guys all remember DVDs? Those little round things that anyway, you can get a DVD box set. It has all of Rick's TV shows and specials on places all over Europe, including the 2020 season. Altogether, there's about over 60 hours of content. It's on right now at half price, $25. You really can't go wrong. So either one of these sites, lonelyplanet.com or ricksteves.com, you can have an adventure, you can enjoy some spectacular scenery, and just whisk yourself away to some fantastic places and feel like you're on the road again.
Wow, nice idea, Wally. Nice idea.
I would say that.
I imagine for you, this has been especially hard because you are Mr. Travel. So
there are pleasures in relaxing at home too, which I've learned. So it's not so bad.
That's good. That's good. Mr. Fuccio, your first round pick, and I believe you're going to add some production value to the show.
Okay, I'm going to try. So let me, I can share my screen, and then I can, hold on a second here. We get that. Okay, share. Okay, Zoom. And we say play, and we should be there. So this is maybe a little bit of an odd pick, but I think it's timely for a couple of reasons. One, Ludwig van Beethoven was born 250 years ago in 1770. His birthday is coming up December 17th. So this is the 200th anniversary of his birth. As far as his output, I think he's well known. Everyone knows Ludwig van. If they've watched, Clockwork Orange, and everyone knows, I think, excerpts from some of his symphonies, the Ninth Symphony, the Choral Symphony, or the Fifth Symphony. But I think he might be interesting to some of this audience who's sort of maybe technology, interested, in that during his lifetime, he started out as a young man, bound very much by the classical tradition, where they had very strict rules or expectations in terms of how different compositions would evolve, what chords they would use, how chords would be sequenced, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Beethoven started out in that transition, but throughout his life, he broke every single rule he could find, both explicit and implicit. And my pick is a recommendation of one of two sets that, again, they're available on CDs that contain these complete collected works. A lot of people are probably familiar with his symphonies or his piano sonatas, but he has a lot of other outputs. He has a couple of various choral works, one opera. He has some chamber, and just occasion music for trombone. So it's he really created a lot of very interesting things, and you can hear some of this and explore it, by one of these two sets. The one on the top is a set I have. It was released by a German record company, Deutsche Grammophon. I got this a number of years ago, and let me tell you, if it's not 1,583 CDs, it certainly feels like it. They say the set's 123, but I went through ripping them. And it was a labor of love. Just, at some point, every time you sit down at the iMac, just pop a CD in and, let it rip. So I think listeners can get a great, experience out of this. And to me, sort of with the COVID lockdown, that plus the new Apple HomePods have created a new opportunity to go back and resample and enjoy, many of these works. And if you do it, it's really interesting to see his progression from the start of his life to very late, in terms of some of his very late piano sonatas. He influenced music for decades to come, including you can draw direct lineage from his innovations to a lot of jazz innovations in terms of what he was doing, eliminating the sense of meter and strict time in the music, and exploring all sorts of chordal relationships. He was quite a daring composer, and if people just want one simple example, there's one trio he wrote, Opus 70, which is near the end of his so-called middle period. He wrote it for one of his patrons, but you listen to it, and right from the beginning, he's sticking in all sorts of crazy chords and dissonances, that become more pronounced as the work develops. So, there's two choices here. They're both available at that bookstore that sells everything else on the planet. So I'll be sending Chuck links for these, so listeners will be able to explore these more on their own. And just as a final note, because it is the 250th anniversary, there's all sorts of events going on around the world. So I recommend everybody just go into Google and you put in Beethoven 250 and put in the name of their city or the biggest city close to them, and they'll come back with all sorts of events that many of which are being streamed for free online. So maybe that's another way, a free way that they can start to sample and enjoy the richness of some of his music.
So I assume you have an extensive classical music collection, Mark.
I do. I have a lot. I've got 600 LPs, which probably have never been played since around 2002, and I've got hundreds of gigabytes, of music that I've stored through iTunes. So
Beethoven, is he one of your favorites?
He is, but there are many other fine composers out there that I wouldn't. I'd probably say I have a strong preference for Beethoven, but he's not the only composer I enjoy by any means.
Good stuff.
Mark, I can honestly say that this is the first time on Mac Voices in all the years I've been doing it that we celebrated a 250th anniversary.
Well, it's good to be a trend breaker, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Didn't see that one coming. So my first pick, and I've been unfortunately having some COVID-related picks, sort of playing off what Joe did for the first round, because I think a lot of us have paid a lot more attention to certain things during COVID-19, during the pandemic, during lockdown, especially if you're working at home. One of those things is that we're all spending so much time on Zoom meetings, Skype meetings, Teams meetings, and you want to look as good as you can. And unfortunately, most of the cameras on your laptops or whatever just aren't quite as good as they could be, should be. That part's a whole nother discussion. But we've been talking about some different options here. Today, I want to pick what is probably the easiest option. It might be the most difficult to get your hands on because there's been such a demand for them. But that is just a plug-in webcam that you can sit on top of your monitor or your laptop, and it's just there, and that's it. You don't have to play with anything or fire up a separate program. You just log into Zoom, Teams, Skype, whatever, and it's there. With the possible exception of Skype because it's temperamental. But at the end of the day, it's a plug and play kind of thing. And I'm going to recommend one of the webcams from Logitech. Now, there are a number of different webcams from Logitech. They all are very good. I have a C920 that I'm using. I think the C930 is their current top end for this kind of thing. Both are vastly superior to what you get on your Mac laptop or really any laptop and any kind of home computer. So it's a little bit of an investment, but again, it's one of those things that if you're using it as frequently as I am, more accurately, if you're on Zoom calls or video calls as much as I am right now, it's something that I think will help. It helps the people on the other side because I think it makes you look more credible, more professional, and that's something that's important to everybody right now. So plug in webcam, preferably from Logitech, if you can find them. And again, right now there's a little bit of a shortage for this very reason.
So are you using that right now, Chuck? Is that the camera you're behind?
No, actually, the one I'm using here, this is a DSLR that I use for the podcasting because, if it would be great to have this over. This is my podcasting side of the room. That's my office side of the room, the day job office side. And over there, I have the C920 that I'm using for the day job. So it looks almost as good as this, maybe not quite as good, but it still looks so much better than 90% of the cameras out there. So I would encourage you to go check it out.
Well, I'll second your pick, Chuck, because I just wrote an article and submitted it yesterday for Screencasts Online magazine on exactly that, the Logitech webcams, and another device which is kind of a gooseneck flexible stand that you can reorient your camera so you're getting better eye contact with your audience. So what I'm using right now is the 930E that you mentioned. And I bought it originally so Wendy, my wife Wendy, could do her courses and webinars online. And it's a fantastic camera. And the other good thing is It has an excellent audio quality. So if you want to do away on some occasions with your external microphone, you can, because it really performs very well.
Good. That's nice to know. So take a good hard look at Wally's picture, and you'll get an idea of what kind of quality you can expect out of these. So, good. Today's Mac Voices is sponsored by BetterHelp, affordable online private counseling. Everyone has challenges now and then. It might be something at work that has you stressed out. It might be depression from all the restrictions that this year has brought. Maybe you lost someone recently, or not so recently. It doesn't matter what the source, it is real and important to you. When you need to reach out for some help to deal, reach out to BetterHelp. BetterHelp offers online private counseling in the comfort of your home, by phone or video chat. BetterHelp is exactly like an in-person counselor. Anything you share is confidential. Their counselors are licensed professional counselors. And this isn't a crisis hotline situation. This is measured, affordable counseling to help you deal with what you need to deal with. So many people have been using BetterHelp that they're recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. That says a great deal about both BetterHelp and the need for what they do. You may not be able to find the kind of expertise you need in your area, or you just may simply not want to be doing the in-person thing at this time. That's why BetterHelp is the perfect choice. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a Mac Voices viewer or listener, you get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/MacVoices. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. BetterHelp, HELP.com/MacVoices. Thanks to BetterHelp for their sponsorship of Mac Voices. This edition of Mac Voices is supported by Smile, the makers of PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro. Smile has yet another new version of PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro. Version 12.2.1 adds compatibility with the new M1 MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, and Mac Mini. Also included are some bug fixes for a few issues that popped up with macOS Big Sur. That means that problems with imprints, some OCR challenges and sidebar issues, and others are no longer problems. And that's what I really love about Smile and the way they handle things. Their updates are frequent and aimed at not only keeping PDF Pen and PDF Pen running correctly, but also keeping current as the macOS and the chipsets evolve. On top of that, they're always adding new features and enhancements that are just sitting there waiting for you to find out how powerful they are. With PDF Pen, you can edit, annotate, and redact PDFs with ease. Correct errors others make without having to completely recreate the document. And unlike other PDF utilities, the features are both easy to find and easy to use. Need more? Step up to PDF Pen Pro for Mac to get more export options, more permissions control, a table of contents function, and much more. Find out why so many of us consider PDF Pen an essential tool in our productivity toolkits by visiting smilesoftware.com/podcasts. Download a demo version and start taking control of your PDFs like never before at smilesoftware.com/podcasts. Thanks to Smile for being the longest-running sponsor of Mac Voices. All right, gentlemen, that's round one. Joe, let's look to you for round two.
All right. Well, I'm going to continue on a somewhat pessimistic theme, although not COVID-related. I have in my career said and written a thing or two about backups. And, I've talked about backup software and, should you use a hard drive, should you use an external SSD, should you use a whatever to store your backups? Well, one of the missing pieces is a lot of people will make backups. Let's say they use an external hard drive. That's great. But if you just leave your external hard drive, let's say on your desk next to your Mac, and, your house burns down, yeah, your hard drive's going to burn down with it. So one of the things I recommend is, there are those people for whom it is not an imposition to just take a backup drive to your bank and put it in a safe deposit box every week or so. That would be an imposition for me. So what I tell people to do is to get a safe, not just any safe, because what you're wanting to protect against here is not necessarily theft. What you're wanting to protect against is, fire, tornado, hurricane, flood, big things that could, destroy your whole house. So I got one. It's kind of a stocking stuffer. This is the one I got, and this is the. Sorry, this weighs approximately as much as 1.3 6-year-olds. This is the Century Safe CFW 20201. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. This was one that seemed to have dimensions that worked for what I needed to put in it and was reasonably affordable. This is waterproof and fire resistant. And when you're looking for fireproof safes, they all say, well, it will resist this amount of temperature for this period of time. So nothing is fireproof in the sense of you can throw it in a volcano and it'll be all right. I mean, there are limits, but this seemed to be pretty reasonable to me. Something that I can keep important documents in, passports and, whatever, important papers, as well as media. And it's not, I mean, it has a lock, but the lock is just like to keep your kids out of it. It's not, the lock would absolutely not deter anybody with a crowbar. But that's not the point. The point isn't to protect the contents from theft or from discovery. The point is to protect the contents from fire. So if you have backups stored locally, that's a great idea. An even better idea is to get a fireproof safe and pop those in there when you're not actively backing up. Of course, can be used for any other kind of valuable that you wouldn't want to have damaged in a fire. There might be some people that would want a coffin-sized safe. I don't know. A little one is fine with me, but that's my second pick. And I think this one cost me like $60 or something. Obviously, you can go much more expensive than that. You can get them smaller, get them bigger, but this one seemed like a good idea.
Very nice. I'm completely embarrassed, Joe. I never even thought about putting backups in a fireproof or fire-resistant safe. That's a great idea, and it's so much more convenient than running to the bank, especially now when the bank won't let you in half the time.
That's right.
So, good pick.
Yeah.
Real good pick.
Thoughtful
pick.
Yeah, that is a good idea. I mean, there's another vendor called IOSafe that has long been out there, and they've partnered with a lot of the storage companies to make sure that they have specific safe models that will fit their specific devices, mostly NAS devices. And 9 or 10 years ago, I spoke at a panel at Storage Visions which is one of the conferences hosted within CES with Rob Moore, who was the CEO and founder of IOSafe. And it was sort of an interesting thing. We had 3 different people who were talking about different types of backup strategies, and it was a great discussion. But, I think probably, Joe, for you as a book publisher, this is probably a good time because, Catalina and the changes Apple's making to the volume system, is creating all sorts of new challenges for backup. So everything is now out of date.
That's correct. And I have a book or 2 on that subject that are urgently in need of new editions. I will get to that real soon.
Yeah, let's hope so. Thank you, Joe. Yes, very good pick. Wally, what do you have for round 2?
Well, I should say, both for round 2 and some of the things I mentioned about the travel sites, that we'll have links in Chuck's show notes to all of those things. So if you're interested in anything, any viewer can go to the show notes and there will be links. So round 2, one thing I really look forward to every morning is doing the New York Times crossword puzzle. I'm lucky because our local newspaper carries it. And for anyone who knows crosswords, you know that this is one of the very best. So giving a puzzle subscription is a great gift, either for yourself or another puzzler. Now, are any of you puzzlers?
No.
You don't enjoy crosswords?
No, sorry.
These are not for you, believe me. But let me explain. NewYorkTimes.com/crosswords. There are a lot of fanatical people about crosswords. And even if you're not fanatical, it's a really rewarding hobby. You learn a lot of new words. You make your brain work, et cetera, et cetera. Bit of context. There's 3 kinds of puzzles. First kind is pretty straightforward. There's a clue and it leads to an answer, and the answer is usually a synonym or a dictionary definition or something like that. Pretty straightforward. The second kind is a cryptic puzzle, very popular in the UK. And with cryptics, you actually have to figure out the clue before you can even start thinking about an answer. They're very tricky and they really twist your head around. And the final kind, it's almost a category on its own, is the New York Times. And the Times puzzle uses wordplay, clever clues, answers within answers, brain teasers, etc. It's a real workout for your brain. Now, the guy who's editing this, his name is Will Shorts. He's been doing this for decades. And the thing with the New York Times puzzle, it gets harder as the week goes on. So if you check out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, pretty straightforward. Thursday's really fun because it usually has a key that you have to discover to unlock some other solutions. Friday and Saturday are the hardest. They can be really tough. And Sunday is bigger and just a lot of fun. Now, I find one really great way to do the puzzles, especially on the hard days, is together with another person, maybe your spouse or your kids or a group of people. So if you go to the New York Times internet site, there's a really good guide there that'll teach you how to solve them and how to recognize some of the word tricks that they use in the puzzles. And you can also see a few sample puzzles. You can download them and try them out. Subscription, $40 a year or $7 a month. You get a new puzzle every day. Plus, the good news is you get access to a full collection of previous year's puzzles. So, good way to do that. If you don't know if you're going to like it, check it out for a month, invest your $7, try it out, see if you enjoy it. After that, for $40 a year, it's an absolute bargain to me. So, NewYorkTimes.com/crosswords.
Wally, what got you interested in crosswords? How long have you been doing them?
Decades, Mark, decades. I started doing crosswords in university. And then when I lived in the UK, I started doing the cryptic crosswords in the Sunday Times and the Daily Times. And maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I got interested in the New York Times, and that really clicked. It's very clever and sometimes very diabolical, but what I really like is just crosswords in general. There's a real satisfaction when you solve something and you discover that you have this piece of knowledge in your head that you didn't realize you knew. And all of a sudden, you have to answer this clue and you see a few letters in there and you say, I know what that is. It's, and it's right. You kind of amaze yourself. So, and as I said, it's great for learning vocabulary and trivia and historical facts and a whole lot of other stuff. So it's a fun hobby for me, at least.
Yes. I had an uncle who was a fan of crosswords, mm-hmm. and he would do it on weekends. He would do the Sunday Times, and as kids, if we were over visiting, he always asked some sort of question, like something from history or some sort of event, because it was linked to the clue, and he got quite proficient in doing them. So it is, I guess, modern day people like Sudoku, but there's all sorts of these different games.
You'll appreciate this one, Mark. I remember a clue on just this past Sunday, and the clue was a conductor of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. And I looked at a couple of letters there, and I said, that's Seiji Ozawa.
That's one.
And I hadn't thought of that man in decades, and all of a sudden, just looking at that clue and looking at the letters, boom, Seiji Ozawa popped into my head. So anyway, it's kind of fun.
So what was it? There's 5 blank squares, or did you have one of the letters of his name?
I think I had 2 letters and
Vanna, I'll buy 2 A's, please.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Vanna?
Joe, these two have gone very cerebral on us.
They really have. That's normally my job, but that's okay. I can.
Don't worry, we'll degenerate with pick 3. We'll get there. Hang on.
Oh, good. Something to look forward to. Mark, what's your round 2?
Okay, so my round 2, let's see. I put together some things, about COVID as well. And just sort of the event for the year. One of the new words I learned this year is sequela. Plural is sequelae. And, basically what that means is, sort of a chronic, i.e. lasting side effect that you develop as a result of having a disease. So that's interesting. Along with, I think this year we'll have unused words like travel and airplane and cruise ships. So, it's our language is definitely continuing to be in flux. So, about COVID, there's again a couple books that are available in either Kindle or paper copies. One, if you're sort of interested in, well, how did this thing, when they say it's zoonotic and it went from a bat to humans, how did that happen? And has it happened before? Well, yes, it has. And there's a book called Spillover, written by a science writer named David Quammen. And this principle's focus was about, I guess, the original SARS. So, this can talk a lot about, pandemics and the history and virology behind it. I've read other books of Quammen, and he's an interesting science writer in that he tends to focus on who are the people involved and telling their stories instead of just focusing on science. So it has a little bit more of general interest and human interest. Then the other one I think would probably be of a lot of interest to viewers of the show is called The Rules of Contagion, written by a mathematician who's a Brit named Adam Kucharski. And he talks in this a lot about so-called viral spread. He focuses on, what are the dynamics of how viruses spread, but it shows commonality to how things spread on the internet and financial bubbles as well. So again, it's another interesting page turner, but it's a little bit more focused on sort of just how does stuff spread through our society. And finally, just so everybody goes out and protects themselves, and hopefully it's not controversial if I say people should be wearing masks. But if people want to learn more, there's a podcast network, called microbe.tv that has a variety of shows on virology, and they've done an excellent job, chronicling, the weekly developments of COVID this year. Their weekend show, they've had since late March, they've had an infectious disease doctor who's been chronicling what they've learned that week. And it's real heartbreaking to hear, just how bad things were and how things have improved. And in the past couple of weeks, with all the outbreaks and rise of, COVID infections and hospitalizations, it's real heartbreaking. But they make a mask with sort of a cool design that you can get at the microbe.tv site. And you can sort of see it there. And basically it says masks are cool. So, maybe this can, wear it, and it can spark some conversations among people and maybe persuade the maskless of why masks are, a reasonable alternative, for helping spread this. These other books are on Amazon, so it's like $15 for Kindle or $30 if you want a hard paper edition. So with that, I'll send it back to you, Chuck.
Mark, that's first of all, those are really interesting. I especially have to admit, I like the mask thing because that is a very positive kind of statement. But we should let folks know that this is something you're very much into. It's been legendary on the MacVoices gift guides that you came on here a number of years ago and recommended pillows shaped like viruses, which still just to this day just blows me away.
Beethoven and viruses. What can you say?
Yeah.
All
right. So my excuse me, my picks are going to now build on themselves for the rest of the show. So I'm going to start big and then go small. This is the new iPhone 12 Pro Max. And this is my pick for this round, not just because it's a great iPhone, it's a new iPhone. The photography is amazing on this thing, especially the low light photography. When I got this the other night, I went into a room and that, I'm not going to tell you I put towels under the doors to make it absolute dark, but it didn't have it. I don't think it had a candle power's worth of light in there. And I snapped a picture, and the detail that you can get out of that in absolute dark is just unbelievable. If you feed the thing just a little bit of light outside, it gets even better. As far as I'm concerned, it lives up to the hype. The 11 Pro that I had before was really, really good. This is in a class by itself. I can't quite tell you how it compares to the 12 Pro as opposed to the 12 Pro Max, because this is the one with the LiDAR. And I know that the people with the 12 Pro have said how great their nighttime pictures are. But the night mode on this is nothing short of staggering. So if photography is a priority for your phone, and you don't mind the larger size, which I obviously don't, even though this was a step up size wise for me, you want to invest in this because at some point, how much better can it get? This is truly amazing. So it's a little bit expensive, and of course, you have to buy the cell plans with it. But I was reading an article today comparing it to some of the top Pixel phones, and I think there was only one category that was even close to. This just blew everything else away. So we'll get into more about this in the subsequent picks. But for right now, the iPhone 12 Pro Max, check it out.
So, Chuck, with your low light shots that you were taking, did you find that you had to stabilize somehow to eliminate camera jitter or a little bit of fuzziness in the photos, or was it really sharp?
I'll answer that in the next round.
Okay. I'll wait for that. Now,
Good question.
I have something similar, and I confess I haven't had time to really put the camera to the test. I have taken some low light shots, and I guess we'll discuss it in your next round. And they are remarkable. Yeah. However, I say to myself, how can it do this? Because I can't hold the camera steady for that long perfectly to get something that sharp. So anyway, we'll get there, right?
We'll get there. Okay, so that's 2 rounds. So right now you have to evaluate because there are only 2 rounds left, 2 more picks out of your lists. Joe and Wally and Mark will be back in the next edition of Mac Voices to wrap up Holiday Gift Guide number 4. And it will come as no surprise to you that the picks get even more unusual and eclectic. That's next time on Mac Voices. Until then, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.